Alright, today we're going to work on this truck. It's got a few little maintenance items that need taken care of. If you can hear that. Story of my life. Replace some more air tanks. Stupid powder coating. And we got an exhaust leak we got to take care of. So let's grab some tools and get to work. So when I replace these tanks, I usually do both at the same time, and there's cables with ends on them that are threaded like a bolt. I replace all four of those also, but in order to get it off, to replace the cables, I have to take the batteries out. So I take that step off, take this front plate out, take the battery retainer off, then take all the batteries loose. You see me taking pictures here. I take pictures of what lines went where. The new tanks come with most of the fittings in place, or a good number of the fittings in place, because they are vehicle specific to this truck. But you still could possibly get them screwed up, so it's always nice just to have something back to look back at and reference. But I always drain all the air out of the tanks first, because if you don't, it's just miserable. It's difficult to get them to come loose, and then when they do, they blow off really hard. So definitely want to drain the air off. You'll see here I put vice grips on that cable, and I'm trying to work it loose. I always try and save any of these I can. The back two, where they put them, it's just tough to get to. I can usually save the front two. The back two, I usually get impatient. I get tired of messing around, and I cut them. And I save two of them because just in case I get in a pickle and I can't get to the dealer to get cables, I can use them, on the on one alongside the road or something I'm buying to get home, something like that. But I got the first tank out here. This tank is split. There's a front tank and a rear tank, and there's a welded partition in between the two. So the air comes in one side, feeds it to the other side, and then goes out to what it supplies. This is a tank that was actually leaking. What happens with these is these tanks are powder coated, and you see how close it is to the front tire. So the front tire throws rocks up underneath it, and as soon as a rock chips that paint and we start to get some salt brine solution in there, in between the paint and the metal, it just starts rotting from in between the two, rusting away. Uh, I mean, I replace a lot of air tanks around here, just a lot. But now I'm going to take the battery hold down loose. We'll get it out of the way. I was surprised to see this truck only has two batteries. Most of the time, um, these Internationals 4300 with a DT466 will have three batteries. But for whatever case, this one didn't. And it had two fairly new batteries in it, which is good. Um, this truck here, I bought it with a running problem, and we didn't video fixing it. It was just one of them things, like I said, a lot of times you guys only see maybe 1 out of 10 trucks we work on. They're sometimes it just takes too much time, and we just got to get work done. So I tend to maybe show ones that maybe we haven't done before, or something that might be a little more interesting. I don't know. So this one, the back tank, I'm realizing that I need to get back in the back. It's been a couple months since I did one of these, and I got to grab all my stuff and then go back up underneath here. Laying on the driveway, like I always do. I like working outside. I love being in the sunshine when it's nice out. I don't mind being on the gravel. I'll roll around on that. It doesn't bug me too much. But I run out of patience with these two. They won't come loose, so I end up just getting a cutting wheel and just cut them off. And once we got them cut off, I've got everything disconnected already, so then we're going to switch over some of the fittings that don't come on the new tanks onto the new tanks, and we got to make sure we get the right tanks in the right location. I could have taken these fittings off on the truck, but I do it a little bit different, and it seems to work out pretty good. Dinah. Thank you very much. Alright, I got all these fittings out of the old one. I'm going to take them over the wire wheel, clean them up real good, get them ready to put Teflon tape on them. So what I'll do is take that tank and I put it between a couple duals and run a strap around it, ratchet strap. It's a lot easier for me to stand there and take the fittings loose than it is to, be laying right at the truck and, trying to work around all that stuff on my back. So this way I like to do it. I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but it works out okay. I took pictures of the tank and I get the orientation right so I can put the fittings back in as close to the original direction as they went and make sure I got the right ones in the right spots, because the majority of the fittings come in these tanks already because, like I said, they are truck specific by VINs, but there are some things like the drains and supplies. Some of those you gotta swap over from the others, and this is the way I do it. Seems to work pretty well. I'll get both of these swapped over here real quick. We were having camera troubles. Sometimes it would record and just shut off, and other times it just didn't record anything. But anyways, we'll get this all finished up and start putting these two tanks in. Alright, so normally I put these in by myself. My wife happened to be around. She offered to help, so she'll hold them up in place while I get the cable started. Normally I just take a ratchet strap and I'll put it underneath there, and I'll just pull the ratchet through the strap through the ratchet, get it up to where I want it, give it a couple clicks, and that's good enough. It holds. But it was much more convenient for her to just hold it while I was tightening it up. It's very important to get the orientation correct. We got to make sure we got our drains at the very bottom of the tank. So when we go to open them up and drain the water out, we make sure we get it all out. I mean, judging by the condition of the tanks, you just assume that they probably rarely ever get drained. I mean, they want you to do it every time you drive the truck, so once a day, But I don't think many people do that at all. So we end up replacing all 4 cables, all the nuts, and these are a fine thread bolt. And the way International does it is you run your bolts down tight, and then you run a second nut down for a jam nut. Why they don't use just a nylock or something like that, I don't know. It seems kind of all odd, but that's the way the original ones were. We took off. Now the old straps, we were able to save 2 of them, and like I said, we'll set them aside in case we run across a situation where we can't get to, the dealer's not open or whatever, to get the new cables. Now I'm cleaning up the battery ends before I put them all back in. So I've got the battery set back in and tied down. I'm getting ready to put the terminals on, or put the cables and the ECM connections on the batteries, and it's got newer batteries in it, and the cable ends actually looked really good. I just need to clean up just a few spots and go over them again. But all in all, a pretty easy job. I think this probably took me about, I would say probably less than an hour and a half, maybe somewhere around there at this point. And what we'll do is we'll get everything buttoned up, get it all put back together before we go any farther on the next part of this repair. We'll start it up and we'll check and make sure it's got good air pressure, and we're going to look for leaks. If you noticed, I took this whole entire step assembly off of this one, and I did that because we had to put the tanks in. It was just easier to take the 4 bolts out of the brackets for the steps versus taking 2 steps off. So it makes it a little bit easier there. I'm just about finished and putting the battery cover on. When I go to put that cover on, I'm noticing that the zip tie that holds all the fuse link connectors to the strap, which is normally on there from the factory, it's not black, it's white. And the wires just aren't laying right. So I went ahead and cut that loose, and now I'm making them lay the way they were supposed to lay, flat and underneath that cover, and then zip tie them back in. Yeah, there you go. There's the white zip tie. Telltale sign somebody else has been in there besides the factory, But anyways, we're going to put the step assembly back in real quick, and we're just about ready to button this up. Not a whole lot here, just a couple 13mm bolts with nuts, and then we're ready to start her up and check for leaks. So let's take a look. Alright, so I've closed the valves on the tanks so we can build air pressure, and I've got in the truck, and I'm turning the cruise control on, and I'm going to set it at 1100 RPMs so that we can fill these tanks up pretty quick. We want to get them up to at least 120 PSI because that is where, I think it's 120, 125, the governor on the compressor will kick out. There's no longer demand for the compressor to compress air. So it will kick it out and let it basically free spin until we need air again. So once we get up to pressure, what I'll do is I'm going to take some soapy water and I spray it all over the fittings and the lines, all over, and look for any air bubbles. No bubbles, no troubles. That's how that works. So take a little time here, go all over it, and we'll check a few times and make sure there's no leaks. And once I'm satisfied I don't see anything, then we're going to get on to the exhaust leak. That's turns out to be quite fickle for me. Alright, I don't know if you can tell in here, but someone's recently put turbo on this truck, and the downpipe is broken right at the end of it. As a matter of fact, you see right here where they used a coat hanger to hold it up. So that's next. You need to get that downpipe out of there. I'm just going to take the whole exhaust loose, take it out of here, and replace the pipe outside, or at least get it apart, because the flange is busted off right at the turbo. It's broke in two other places. So. Nothing left here. Broken right there. It's gonna move now. Yep. Alright, let me get my little hammer.
Okay.
Got the V-band clamp off. There's what's left of the flange that was in there up against the turbo. I mean, you know that was bad when they put that on there. Who does this crap? All that work to put a rotted out piece of exhaust on there. Horrible. So here's a new downpipe from International. So I'm going to get it unwrapped and then get it shoved up in here where it belongs. They had the V-band clamp going straight up, which I don't understand that. It should have been going down where you can actually access it. And that's what we'll be doing. So I'll get it in there. Another nice thing about dealing with Fleet-Rite Alan down there, whenever I'm doing something, if there's something I forget, overlooked, didn't think of, he usually mentions it. Just like this. I didn't even have to ask him for a clamp. He's like, do you want a clamp with that too? I said, I most certainly do. Good guys to deal with. And Alan's been doing this a long time. Like everything's a fight, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the guy put the V-band clamp nut going. It's, you know, the stud was here and the nut's up on top, and it was up against the heater box. Somebody had just put a turbo on this. I don't understand why they would have done that. You know, people are weird. And what your uncle used to say.
Mm-hmm.
People's weird. However, we're making progress. I've got the old downpipe out, new downpipe in. The V-band clamp is on and tight. Okay, this is all back together. Now I have to put this splash shield back in. Get some of these tools out of here. Can't imagine why my tools are all beat up. I mean, somebody throws them on the ground, drops them. I had to take a ratchet and break the old V-band clamp because it would not come loose. Would not. My skinny self out there. It's being facetious. You would think when I do this I would lose some tools, but I really don't. Mostly because my lovely assistant puts my tools away.
Well, that's the problem. Sometimes I put them away in the wrong place because there's too many different boxes, and
They all have a place.
I just don't know where it is.
Before we finish a truck and ship it out of here, I look to see what we're missing. This was supposed to be a really easy, quick job, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Aren't they all?
Well, they start that way. They don't always end that way. I guess that's the difference in theory and reality.
Well, you never know what you're going to run into, though.
Okay. Now, we have to go to the back and put the muffler on the new pipe. Look here. tucked way up underneath there. You see it? Way up in there.
No.
Right there. You have to get the muffler on that now. Alright, let me get it in there. I'm gonna get up underneath this.
Okay. Oh, careful. Snag your back on that. Oh, come on. It started, but it's rusty, so.
It's on, lady.
Okay, well, I didn't know how far you wanted it on.
Grab that impact behind you.
Behind me?
Behind you. Yeah, tighten the other one up.
Oh, I was gonna say, it looks tight. Ready?
Hang on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
Your other tight?
Oh, I thought I checked it. It's going the right way.
There you go. Alright.
Ow, these gravel are hurting my knees. Ow.
Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, lordy.
Alright, now I gotta get a clamp for it. I need a 4-inch hose, exhaust clamp. Oh, goody. I gotta go see if I got one. Alright, the exhaust is on. Let's see if she's quiet. See how quiet she is or isn't now. In it, but before it was really loud. I don't know how it couldn't be, but I just want to make sure we got the pipe seated well. So much better. Okay, I guess we're done with this one. We'll take it for a test drive. Inside of this truck box. So look for that later. But that'll be the end of this one. This truck is fixed and done. Catch you on the next one.
think there's enough room for those in there? I said, do you think there's enough room for those in there?
Mike, I'll have to take the gauges off and put these caps on still.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, what the heck? I said, what the heck?
Let it down a little bit.
Okay.